The day my entire family laughed at me was the day they unknowingly destroyed every lie they had told about me. I arrived at my cousin's engagement party alone. No expensive sports car. No designer entourage. No bodyguards. Just me, Nicole, wearing a simple navy blue dress and carrying a small gift bag. I'd wrapped myself the night before. The party was being held at the most luxurious country club in Chicago. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above hundreds of elegantly dressed guests. A live orchestra played softly as waiters carried silver trays through the ballroom. The moment I walked inside, the room became strangely quiet. Then my aunt laughed. Nicole actually came. A few people turned around. Then another laugh echoed across the room. My older brother raised his glass. I thought she wouldn't show her face after everything. Within seconds, half the room was staring at me. Smiling, whispering, judging. I forced myself to smile back. I had spent years getting used to it. To them, I was always the family's biggest disappointment. The daughter who never became successful. The sister who couldn't keep up. The cousin everyone secretly pitied. They had no idea where I had really been for the last 5 years, and I intended to keep it that way, at least for 1 more hour. My cousin Emily walked over wearing a sparkling white gown. She looked at the small gift in my hands before forcing a polite smile. "You really didn't have to bring anything." Before I could answer, her fiancé laughed loudly. "I hope it's not homemade." Several guests burst into laughter. I quietly placed the gift on the table. "It's from the heart," my uncle smirked. "That's usually what people say when they can't afford anything expensive." More laughter. Not one person defended me, not even my own parents. They simply stood there, watching, as if humiliating me had become a family tradition. I took a deep breath. I could have walked away, but my late mother had always taught me something. Class isn't measured by how people treat you. It's measured by how you respond. So I stayed silent. Exactly 20 minutes later, the ballroom doors suddenly opened. Every conversation stopped. Outside, a convoy of black luxury SUVs pulled up to the entrance. Security officers stepped inside first. Then the event manager hurried across the room. His face looked nervous. "Everyone, please remain where you are. We're about to receive a very important guest." Guests immediately began whispering. Is it a senator? A celebrity? The governor? No one knew. Then, a tall, distinguished man in an elegant black suit walked into the ballroom. Every business leader in the room instantly stood up. Someone whispered, "Oh my God, that's Daniel Harrington, the billionaire CEO of Harrington Global, one of the most powerful companies in America." He slowly looked around the room until his eyes landed on me. A warm smile appeared on his face. He walked straight past every wealthy guest, past my relatives, past the hosts, and stopped directly in front of me. Then, without hesitation, he opened his arms, smiled proudly, and said words that left my entire family frozen. "There you are. My daughter." The entire ballroom fell silent. For a moment I couldn't move. Neither could anyone else. Daniel Harrington, the billionaire, CEO every guest admired, stood in front of me with a smile that felt both familiar and comforting. He hugged me warmly. "I'm sorry I'm late, Nicole. I had to finish a board meeting." I smiled through my surprise. "You made it. I wouldn't have missed this for the world." Behind us, I heard someone whisper, "Did he just call her Nicole?" Another voice replied, "No, he called her his daughter." My aunt's champagne glass nearly slipped from her hand. My brother stared at me in complete disbelief. My father looked as though he couldn't breathe. Finally, my uncle stepped forward. "There must be some misunderstanding." Daniel slowly turned toward him. "There isn't. I'm Daniel Harrington, and Nicole has been part of my family for 5 years." Gasps echoed throughout the ballroom. My cousin Emily looked at me with wide eyes. "You never told us you knew him." I smiled sadly. "You never asked." Ryan, my brother, laughed nervously. "Okay, this has to be a joke." Daniel looked directly at him. "It's not." Then he placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Nicole joined our leadership internship after college. She earned every promotion herself. I didn't even know she was your relative until months later." Every eye in the room shifted toward me. Daniel continued. "Most people assumed she was another applicant, but she became the youngest executive our company has ever promoted." The whispers grew louder. "No way. She's an executive? I thought she worked a regular office job." I looked down for a moment, That was exactly what my family believed. Because that's exactly what I'd allowed them to believe. Every holiday, every birthday, whenever they asked about my job, I'd simply smile and say, "I work in corporate." They never cared enough to ask anything else. Instead, they laughed at my simple clothes, my modest car, my quiet lifestyle. What they didn't know was that every expensive thing I owned had been replaced by something more valuable. Peace. Daniel reached into his jacket and removed a small velvet box. He handed it to me. "Congratulations. You've earned this." I opened it slowly. Inside was a beautiful platinum company pin engraved with the Harrington Global logo. Only senior executives received one. Daniel smiled proudly. "As of this morning, you are officially our newest chief strategy officer." The room exploded with shocked whispers. Even the event manager looked stunned. My brother's face turned pale. "The chief strategy officer? That's impossible." Daniel calmly replied, "No. The impossible part was believing Nicole would never succeed." Just then, one of Daniel's assistants hurried into the ballroom carrying a leather portfolio. He leaned over and whispered something into Daniel's ear. Daniel's expression changed instantly. He looked at me, then at my parents. "Nicole, I think it's time they learn the real reason I chose you." My heart skipped a beat. I knew exactly what he was about to reveal. And once he did, my family's laughter would disappear forever. The ballroom was so quiet. You could hear the orchestra stop playing. Daniel looked at every member of my family before speaking. "I didn't choose Nicole because she was talented." A few people exchanged confused looks. "I chose her because she did something almost no executive ever does." He turned toward me with a proud smile. "She put people before profit." My brother scoffed. "So she's just a nice employee?" Daniel slowly shook his head. "No. She's the reason Harrington Global still exists." The room erupted into whispers. My father frowned. "What does that mean?" Daniel motioned for his assistant to hand him the leather portfolio. He opened it and removed several photographs. The first picture appeared on the ballroom's giant projector. It showed a massive warehouse engulfed in flames. 3 years earlier, I immediately recognized it. Our Texas distribution center. Daniel pointed at the screen. Most of you probably remember the news. Our largest facility caught fire. We were hours away from losing contracts worth nearly $2 billion. The next photograph appeared. It was me, covered in smoke and dust, wearing a safety helmet, helping frightened employees leave the building. Gasps echoed through the room. Daniel continued. Nicole wasn't a senior executive. She wasn't even a manager. She was a project analyst. But while everyone else was protecting company assets, she risked her own life helping our employees escape. Another image appeared. I was comforting a frightened woman while firefighters worked behind us. Daniel's voice became emotional. 37 employees walked out alive that day. They all credit one person. He looked directly at me. Nicole. I lowered my eyes. I had never wanted attention for that day. The applause started quietly. Then it spread across the ballroom. My own relatives, the same people who had laughed at me only an hour earlier, were now staring at me with disbelief. But Daniel wasn't finished. He opened the final folder. This is why I call Nicole my daughter. Inside was a signed legal document. 5 years ago, Daniel and his wife had created the Harrington Family Foundation. The foundation sponsored young professionals who demonstrated extraordinary integrity and leadership. Daniel smiled warmly. My wife and I never had children, so we made a promise. Whoever proved they deserved to carry our family's values, we would treat like family. He looked at me with pride. Nicole never asked us for money, never asked us for favors. She earned every opportunity, and from the day she saved those employees, she became the daughter we never had. My mother burst into tears. She covered her face with her hands. My father couldn't even look at me. Then my older brother slowly stood up. His voice was barely above a whisper. Nicole, I'm sorry. I looked at him calmly. For what? For laughing at you? For believing you would never become anything? Before I could answer, Daniel's assistant rushed back into the ballroom. Mr. Harrington, the board members have arrived. Daniel smiled. Perfect timing. He turned toward the guests. I'd like everyone to meet the future CEO of Harrington Global. Every face in the ballroom turned toward me, and my family realized The woman they had spent years treating like a failure was about to become one of the most powerful business leaders in America. The ballroom erupted into applause. Not the polite kind, the kind that comes when people realize they've witnessed something unforgettable. I stood there, overwhelmed. For years I had imagined this moment, not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted the truth to speak louder than their opinions. Daniel placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You've earned every bit of this, Nicole." I smiled. "Thank you for believing in me when no one else did." He shook his head. "You believed in yourself first, and that's why you're here." Across the room, my father slowly walked toward me. His eyes were filled with regret. "I failed you," he whispered. "I listened to everyone else's opinions instead of seeing my own daughter." For a moment, I remembered every birthday they forgot, every family dinner where I was ignored, every joke made at my expense. Those memories still hurt. But I also knew holding on to them would only keep me trapped in the past. "I can't change what happened," my father continued. "But I'm asking for one chance to make things right." Before I could answer, my brother Ryan stepped forward. "I owe you an apology too." I laughed because I was jealous. I couldn't understand how someone so quiet could become so successful. He looked down at the floor. "I judged you without ever knowing your story." I took a deep breath. "I forgive you." Their faces lifted in surprise. But forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It simply gives us a chance to build a better future. Tears filled my mother's eyes as she wrapped me in the warmest hug I'd felt in years. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. I should have said those words a long time ago. For the first time, I believed her. Daniel smiled at the entire family. Success isn't measured by titles or wealth. It's measured by character. And Nicole has more character than most people I've met in my lifetime. A week later, Harrington Global officially announced my appointment as Chief Executive Officer. News outlets across the country covered the story. Headlines praised my leadership, my integrity, and the journey that brought me there. Ironically, the same relatives who once laughed at me were now sharing those articles with pride. Life has a funny way of revealing people's true character. Some only respect you after the world applauds you. The people who matter believe in you long before anyone else does. Today, whenever I visit that country club, I remember the laughter that greeted me when I walked in alone. But I remember something else even more. The moment one man walked through those doors, looked past every wealthy guest, past every important face, straight at me, and proudly said, "There you are, my daughter." That day, my family thought I had arrived alone. The truth was, I had never been alone at all. I had earned a family built on respect, trust, and love, and no amount of laughter could ever take that away.